She came tearing up my driveway like she owned every inch of dirt on it. Clipboard clenched tight in one hand. Her voice so loud it sent the cows scattering across the pasture. "You can't live here," she barked. "This farmhouse falls under HOA rules, and you're already in violation." I leaned against my truck, sweat running down the back of my neck, and stared at her like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Ma'am," I said, "this land isn't even part of your neighborhood." Her face went crimson like a match struck too close. She jammed a paper into my chest. Some fake notice printed in bold letters, screaming eviction. "This is illegal. You need to pack up before the police get here." My heart was hammering, but not from fear. It was anger, hot, sharp, and burning. She honestly thought she could bully me off my own land. I folded the paper slowly, almost amused, and said, "You're trespassing. You're the one breaking the law." Her mouth dropped open for a second. Then she yanked out her phone and shrieked into it. "Send the cops right now. There's an intruder." My hand tightened into a fist, but I stayed calm. Deep down, I knew she had no idea who she was messing with. The wail of sirens rolled down the dirt road faster than I expected. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars pulled in, lights flashing. Karen threw her arms up like she'd just won a prize. "Officers, arrest him. He broke into this farmhouse. He doesn't belong here." She jabbed a finger at me like I was a criminal. The cops looked from me to her, clearly confused. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I sat on the tailgate, lit my pipe, and let a slow stream of smoke drift out. One officer stepped closer. "Sir, we got a call about trespassing. Can we see some ID?" Karen smirked, muttering, "Got you now." I reached into my jacket, pulled out my worn leather wallet, and handed it over. The officer's eyebrows jumped the second he opened it. He glanced at his partner, then back at me, standing a little straighter now, his tone shifting. "Ma'am," he said firmly to Karen, "you need to step back." Her smile vanished. "What?" "No, he's the intruder. This land is HOA property, and I'm the board president." I leaned forward slightly, met her stare, and said calmly, "Karen, you just made the worst mistake of your life." She froze for a beat, then doubled down, yelling even louder, "Don't listen to him. I have authority here. If you don't arrest him, I'll cost you your jobs." The officers looked uneasy, but none of them moved toward me. Instead, one spoke evenly. "Ma'am, this property isn't under your HOA's authority. We've checked the maps. You're overstepping." Her face twisted with rage. She stomped closer, jabbing her clipboard inches from the officer's face. "You're wrong. I filed the paperwork myself. This land belongs to the community now, and he's squatting." That's when I grabbed the folder I kept ready in my truck. I didn't raise my voice. I just opened it and showed the deed, stamped and signed, my name printed clearly at the top. "Funny thing," I said, "county records show this land been mine for 2 months. The officers leaned in, nodded, and one even muttered, "Looks legit." Karen's eyes darted back and forth as her confidence started to crack. She wasn't used to being challenged, and I could see her scrambling for another lie. Instead of backing off, she hissed into her phone again. "Fine. If local police won't do their job, I'll call my officers." The air grew heavy. The cops exchanged confused looks, and I almost smiled. She had no idea how badly she was digging herself in. Minutes later, a black SUV screeched up, skidding to a stop near the gate. 2 men jumped out wearing uniforms that looked almost official, but not quite. Their badges were cheap, their belts didn't match, and everything about them screamed fake. Karen marched toward them, practically glowing with triumph. Finally, "Officers, arrest this man now. He's squatting on HOA land." The real cops stiffened, hands drifting toward their holsters. One of them muttered, "They're not on our roster." Karen ignored it, pointing at me like she was passing a sentence. "Take him away." The fake officer strutted toward me, chest puffed out. I stayed seated on the tailgate, took one last pull from my pipe, and said calmly, "Before you embarrass yourselves, you might want to check who you're walking up to." They hesitated, trading uneasy looks, but Karen snapped, "Do it now." The real police immediately stepped in, blocking their path. "Hold up," one officer said. "Let's see some identification." The imposters fumbled through their pockets, hands shaking, nerves written all over them. Karen screeched, "You don't need to question them. They're with me." That's when I stood up, reached into my jacket, and slowly pulled out my own badge. The gold caught the light instantly. Karen's face went ghost white as I said, steady and loud enough for everyone to hear, "I'm not just the owner of this land. I'm the county sheriff." For a moment, everything went silent. The real officers snapped to attention, one murmuring "sheriff," before nodding with clear respect. Karen's mouth fell open, her authority collapsing right in front of her. The fake cops didn't back off right away. One tried to bluff, puffing his chest again. "That badge could be fake. We don't take orders from—" He didn't get to finish. My deputy, who quietly followed the SUV in, stepped forward as his radio crackled. "Sheriff, want me to run their plates?" Karen spun around, eyes wide. "Deputy? Wait, you mean he's really—" Her voice cracked mid-sentence. The real officers were already moving, frisking imposters, pulling out plastic badges and toy handcuffs. One officer turned to me. "Sheriff, they're impersonators. We'll process them immediately." Karen was shaking now, scrambling to claw back some control. "No, you don't understand. They were just helping me enforce HOA rules. This property is part of the community, and I cut her off, stepping closer and dropping my voice so only she could hear. "Karen, this farmhouse is not in your HOA, and now you're not just trespassing. You brought criminals onto my land." She glanced around wildly, finally realizing the crowd wasn't on her side anymore. But instead of stopping, she shrieked, "This isn't over. I'll destroy you, Sheriff. You'll see." I leaned back against my truck again, calm as ever. "Funny thing about threats, Karen," I said evenly, "they usually sound stronger when handcuffs aren't already waiting for you." The fake officers were hauled toward the patrol cars as neighbors gathered, whispering and pointing. Karen tried to pull herself together, forcing a look of shocked innocence, but the damage was already done. "You can't do this to me. I'm a community leader," she cried, her voice cracking like someone trapped in a lie she'd told so many times she started believing herself. I watched her for a second, then nodded toward the porch camera mounted on my farmhouse. "Funny you say that, Karen. Want to see the footage?" Her forced smile froze before she could answer. My deputy tapped his tablet, and the doorbell video played loud and clear for everyone to see. Karen slipping a forged HOA notice under my door 2 nights earlier. Karen whispering into her phone while those same 2 men stood near the gate. The crowd went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's face drained the color as the video showed her coaching them. "Tell them you're enforcing community rules. Act like you belong." Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She lunged forward in panic. "That's edited. Fake. Planted," she screamed, but the footage kept rolling. Her signature. Her voice. The exact moment she called 911, pretending to be a concerned neighbor. One officer held up a recording of her call, her own words sealing her fate. A neighbor shouted, "She did this old Mr. Lane last month, too." Another pulled up a post from a local group where Karen had bragged about keeping the neighborhood clean. Karen dropped to her knees like the ground had disappeared beneath her. Please don't ruin me," she begged, eyes wet but hollow. The people who once believed her turned away. I walked over slowly, looked down at her, and said, "You used fake authority to scare my family and brought criminals onto my land. This is where it ends." She snapped back, half screaming, half sobbing. "You'll pay for this." I clipped my radio to my shoulder, my voice low but firm. "Maybe in court." Then I turned to the officers. "File everything. Trespassing, impersonation, fraud." The deputy nodded once and uploaded the footage. Across the road, a neighbor already had their phone raised, streaming it all within minutes. It wasn't just our road anymore. It was everywhere, blasted online under one simple caption people kept repeating. "Don't mess with someone's home." Karen was cuffed, shrieking like a trapped animal. "This is harassment. You'll all regret this." But the crowd only watched in silence. The same people she'd bullied for years now stood a little straighter as she was shoved into the back of a patrol car. Someone whispered that it was about time. Another muttered that she'd always acted like she owned everyone. When the door slammed shut, Karen pressed her face to the glass, spitting venom through the cracked window. This farmhouse will never be yours. The HOA will crush you. Her words were muffled, but the rage cut sharp. I tapped the deed folded inside my jacket and met her eyes. Karen, this land was never yours to begin with. The SUV carrying the impersonators rolled away first. Then the cruiser with Karen followed. The flashing lights faded down the gravel road, leaving nothing but dust hanging in the air. For the first time since we moved into my dream farmhouse, the yard felt quiet, peaceful. My wife stepped onto the porch, arms crossed, a small smile tugging at her lips. So much for a quiet country life, she teased. I chuckled, shaking my head. Guess Karen never figured out I'm not the kind of man you scare. She stepped closer, brushing my hand. You stayed calm through all of that. I'm proud of you. That's when I noticed a black car idling just beyond the tree line. Its engine hummed low. The driver didn't move. My smile faded as Karen's last words echoed in my head. This isn't over. Deep down, I knew she wasn't finished. The black car rolled forward slowly, gravel crunching beneath its tires. My hand rested instinctively on my hip. Ready? The window slid down, and a man in a suit leaned out, his voice smooth, too smooth. Sheriff, you made quite an enemy today. Karen has friends in places you wouldn't expect. He smirked once, then sped off, tires kicking up dust. My wife tightened her grip on my arm. Did you hear that? She's still pulling strings. I nodded, watching the car disappear. Yeah, but strings snap when you pull them too hard. By morning, the footage of Karen's meltdown had gone viral. Millions watched her scream about illegal farmhouse living and fake police calls. Neighbors stopped by to thank me, some with tears in their eyes. She ruined so many lives. One elderly man said quietly, "But you stopped her." Later that week, I stood on the farmhouse porch, watching the American flag ripple overhead. Karen was facing charges: fraud, trespassing, conspiracy. Her so-called power had collapsed under the weight of the truth. And as I looked out over the land I'd worked for, bled for, and sworn to protect, I felt something deeper than victory. This wasn't just about me. It was about proving something every American knows in their bones. Your land, your family, your freedom. No HOA, no bully, no fake badge can take that away. I finally exhaled at peace and whispered to myself, this is my dream farmhouse, and no one will ever steal it from me.